favorite Riot Girl band, Grape Ape, at the Irvine Meadows Amphitheater in 1992. And so they're all psyched. They've been like rocking out. And instead of going home right away, they've gone to kind of hang out a little bit afterward in their car and like smoke cigarettes and goof around. And her best friend's name is Lizzie. Lizzie's car was one of those infinitely long station wagons with 2 rows of generous seats and a long carpeted cargo area that ended in a rear door designed to drop down and become a tailgate picnic table. It was designed for parties of another era. In the front seat, we were blasting the bags, rehashing the best moments of the show, and smoking weed out of a perforated Coke can. From the top of Turtle Rock, we could see a fringe of lights from the subdivisions around UC Irvine. Dark puddles of undeveloped land spread outward from our parking spot at the edge of the road. Lizzie started imitating the way our hippie social studies teacher always made air quotes around the phrase Western belief system. Sujin and I could not stop cracking up. In the cargo area, Scott and Heather were making out. "Let's get some air." Lizzie shook the pack of cigarettes and raised an eyebrow. I nodded and spoke in a loud, stagey voice. "Yes, let's stretch our legs." "We're gonna stay here where it's warm," Heather called from the back. "No shit," I mumbled. We scrambled out of the car and walked up an unlit dirt path, sharing a cigarette and trying to find a spot with a better view. When the car was out of sight, Sujin snorted a laugh. It was getting a little awkward in there. "How long should we give them, do you think?" I picked up a rock and threw it down the hill. Lizzie let out a long stream of smoke. "I don't know, 10 minutes? 15? How long do you think it takes to give that dumbass a blowjob?" We burst into giggles. "Okay, I'm definitely gonna need another cigarette then." Lizzie handed over the pack, and I slid out the matchbook she'd tucked into the cellophane. That's when we heard a noise, almost like a wolf howl. What the hell was that? We stood silently for a minute, and it came again. It sounded almost human. Lizzie's eyes widened, and she stamped out her cigarette. "That's Heather!" She took off running faster than I'd ever seen her, spiked hair wobbling as she scrambled past us and half skidded on the sandy path. Sujin and I raced after. Within seconds, we could see the car, and it was obvious that Heather was screaming, "No, no, no!" And Scott was laughing in a way that was the opposite of laughing, and somebody's bare foot was sticking out of the back window at a weird angle. Lizzie reached the car first and pulled open the tailgate door, launching herself inside the station wagon. "Get your hands off her, you fucker!" She wasn't yelling. It was more like a war cry. It was so dark that at first, all I could see was the dim slope of Lizzie's back. She was perpendicular to Scott and had settled the weight of her left side against his throat while she looped her arms under his back, pinning him down uncomfortably. Every time he kicked the roof or tried to wriggle away, she followed his body with her own, levering herself against him with a bent leg. He groaned. "Can't you take a joke? It was a joke, okay?" Heather scrambled into the back seat, gasping and crying and holding her hand to a red bruise wrapped around the side of her neck. Her long black hair was tangled and eyeliner was smeared in wet streaks around her dark eyes. Sujin came in through the passenger door and scrunched next to her, gently touching the mark. "What did he do to you?" "He was strangling me!" "What the fuck are you talking about? We were playing around." "No, Scott, don't fucking lie. You said you wanted to kill me." Heather's voice shook. "I was joking, obviously." Scott struggled again, trying to escape from Lizzie's grip, but she twisted around to crush his right arm beneath her shin while she kept his chest pinned. He was practically immobilized. "That hurts! My arm is going numb!" "It should hurt," Lizzie was growling. "I'm going to let you up, and you're going to get out of the car and walk home. Do you understand?" He didn't answer, and Lizzie shifted her weight, pushing harder. Yes, I understand." Slowly, she crab-walked backward, dragging him with her out the back door, yanking him onto the asphalt outside. It was only then that I realized he was naked from the waist down. Scott looked dazed for a minute, and Heather threw his underwear and jeans at him. "What the fuck is wrong with you, rapist?" He stood up and lunged so fast, it was like he was on angel dust. Hell, maybe he was. Before any of us could react, he was back in the car, reaching into the seat where Heather was cowering, smacking her face, her head, her shoulders, any part he could hit from that angle. Then he grabbed Heather's breasts in clawed hands like he wanted to rip them off her chest. Heather was screaming, and Sujin was pulling at his fingers, and then Lizzie was on Scott's back, reaching around to put him in a chokehold. Except it wasn't a chokehold. A knife flashed in her hand, one of those Swiss Army deals they always tell you to bring to Girl Scout camp. Lizzie, stop! What the fuck are you doing? It felt like I was screaming underwater. I crawled into the back of the station wagon and reached out, connecting with her shoulder blade. It spasmed under my hand. Lizzie was stabbing the knife in the direction of her own body to penetrate his neck and face. Eventually, she was going to miss and impale herself. Lizzie, stop it now! I grabbed her arm in mid-puncture, and she finally went still, her breath the loudest sound in the car. Scott slumped over the back of the seat between Heather and Sujin. His neck was wet and shredded. The knife was buried in what remained of his mouth. Blood was everywhere. It was running in the seams of the faux leather blue upholstery. It was splattered on the steamy windows. It was dripping onto the floor. It was soaking Heather's lacy dress. Sujin's knees made indentations in the seat that quickly turned to bloody pools. It was like a burst watermelon, I thought, in a surreal haze of incomprehension, because this couldn't be happening. My life hadn't turned into a gore movie. So they're kind of freaked out, and they're kind of debating what they should do, because nobody knows what to do in this case. And so Beth is saying, you guys, we have to go to the cops. Like, that was self-defense. We all saw it. He was trying to rape her. He was trying to kill her. We have to go to the cops right now. And Heather says, we can't. Beth, we can't go to the cops. They'll tell our parents. We're not even supposed to be here. Heather was right about that. We were supposed to be seeing a movie at one of the theaters near the South Coast Plaza Mega Mall. Plus, my mom says that the police always take the easy way out. They won't believe us. We have no proof. I thought about the time a cop stopped us on the street to ask Heather if she was legal and demanded to see her driver's license. When he saw her Iranian last name, Sassani, he asked where she was from. She lied and said the name was Italian. He apologized profusely, muttering something about how he should have known that her olive skin was Mediterranean and not Mexican. We laughed about all the intricate layers of racist bullshit at the time, but it wasn't funny now. Lizzie turned on the overhead light. What's our proof? A bruise? Heather's makeup was smeared, and despite her shaking hands, she'd managed to pull a giant furry sweater over her stained dress. Look at her. Does she look like she's been attacked? I mean, anybody can have a bruise like that. Maybe it's a really giant hickey. Can you imagine the cops believing her against him? She gestured at Scott's white body, its fluids slowly leaking away. I was being ripped into two versions of myself. One knew Lizzie was wrong. One knew she was right. And one of those versions had to die. So, that's Beth. She has a